Hello, welcome to another edition to RGB Talk. I'm William Mawazi.
I'm Tony Rez.
And today we're going to discuss Age of Apocalypse, or as they now marketed, Apocalypse,
Yep.
X-Men. So, well, let's start off with the characters. I'm going to start off with, of course, Storm. I really enjoyed Alexandria Shipp's portrayal of Storm. And the fact that she added more to the character compared to Miss Halle Berry has, as far as authenticity with accent. I know they were going for like a younger audience or younger actors to bring in a younger audience, but yeah, I really enjoyed her. She was great.
I didn't expect the accent, to be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it at all.
So, yeah, kudos to her. Yeah, she scored major points with her portrayal.
And they gave her an origin story, which is nice. So Storm had an origin story. I like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, and, the comic books, we already know, with her origin, her place in Egypt and North Africa, and the loss of her parents at before that time. But yeah, I mean, Bryan Singer, like I wasn't sure what to expect from him with this, but yeah, he definitely brought his A game to it, and even with the part of Apocalypse, I know like a lot of people weren't really like satisfied with the I guess that actual look of the
character. It's not the same as the one in the comic book.
Right.
Yeah.
And, I mean, judging by the pictures, of course, like, yeah, I was thoroughly disappointed. Because, I mean, when you look, Apocalypse is supposed to be this, like, diesel-looking guy,
Yeah.
I mean, these full lips and everything.
The lips is what really got me, because they didn't do any justice with the lips in terms of the movie.
Right.
It was like it came down here, it was like long black lines, and it kind of curved there, and it turned to regular look. So one of the most defining characteristics about Apocalypse is his lips and how it comes from the side of his head. So they really didn't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's like, especially supposed to be this very intimidating, like, force, like physically. So when I was looking at the photos of it, I was like, the cosplayers did a better job portraying Apocalypse than the actual movie studios.
Right.
Especially when they chose the actor to play Apocalypse. And, I'm thinking somebody more Afrocentric or, someone more physical opposing, dominant. I'm thinking like, Dwayne Johnson. A lot of people were trying to campaign for him to play Apocalypse, not only because of the size, but his ethnic background, and or somebody else of like some Afro descent. But
well, I would say that regarding the actor who played Apocalypse, I thought the guy was a great actor.
Yeah.
He played it really well, and I don't think The Rock could have done justice to that character.
I don't know.
He's not that. I like The Rock, just in case you're watching, but he wouldn't have brought that role. I mean, I really liked the writing and just the development of Apocalypse in the film.
Right.
And so it surprised me.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's totally different from the books, of course, because I mean, you have a list, a caveat of characters that. None of these movies could do any justice to. I mean, even with the Marvel Studios movie, it was more like a weekend, and it just seemed so centralized. The Ultron character being.
You mean a role he played in the film itself?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's like at least with the Age of Apocalypse. There was more of this global phenomenon going on.
Yeah, there
where Ultron, it
was really centered in like a couple of places.
Yeah, it was very centered. It wasn't global as like in the books, in the comic books. I mean, Ultron just took over I mean, decimated, like, you know, the superheroes and supervillains that came together to work against.
Yeah, you didn't get the sense of that.
Yeah, so
in Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
so you make a good point. You're right. This one really gave a sense of the global, you know.
It felt more like, you know, I mean, threatening, and they show the different countries and the different peoples, like, you know, being affected by this.
Yeah, that journey story with it.
Right.
Yeah.
So, once again, that's why I have to say, like, you know, kudos to Bryan Singer, because the fact that he, you know, so cinematic, I guess, and the global.
Yeah, it's just better writing. I mean, it was a really well-written story, especially for X-Men films.
Yeah.
Right? Usually they're not that...
I like the fact that he cracked on the franchise with the X-Men 3, which he didn't direct. But saying, like, the third movie is always the worst.
Yeah.
So I thought that was funny. A little cattiness there. But, I enjoyed that.
I mean, if we're talking about characters, I want to talk specifically about two other ones. One, I think that this origin story for Wolverine was better.
Oh, well, the thing is that I like the way he tied that in too, because in the other films where you know, the Stryker, Colonel Stryker, you know, like there was a history between these two men, and even though the X-Men Wolverine Origins, which, you know, that sucked.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, they messed up on that one. Or at least with this movie, Singer, he established that connection with Stryker and Logan, and that, you know, and it's just done in this film so much better, where you can ignore X-Men Origins and still have that connection. I mean, if you just watch the X-Men films by itself, you can still follow that progression of Wolverine's storyline.
I want to say that he's doing a great job of wiping out the older films, which is great, because, you know, the older ones, when Jean Grey turns to the Phoenix and she destroys everyone and everything, and you're thinking, wait a minute, that's the end of a franchise. How are you going to redo the story? And they go back in time and they change to a different timeline.
Well,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
No, I mean, I think this is what great writers doing comic books, like Peter David, his reinvention of the Hulk, which was one of my favorite runs, actually, where he just basically, you know, just restructured the narrative that, like, you know, when he first became this person, you know, he was slowly evolving.
Okay.
But going back to you know, what we're talking about with the storylines with Wolverine and stuff, I mean, it's just that slow progression of the storytelling, and Jean Grey, actually. Let's talk about her.
No, but before, I got a little more to say about Wolverine.
Okay.
They kind of touch on Wolverine, the feral Wolverine. Because there's a storyline back in the old comics where he's like this wild and crazy.
True.
He's damn near an animal. Right. And so when they had him in a cage, he was the feral Wolverine, right?
Yeah.
Until Jean Grey.
Beast mode.
Exactly. And honestly, that fight scene, when he got out of the cage, right? Spoiler, of course. When he got out of the cage and he was fighting everyone, killing everyone, I gotta say that was the best fight scene I've ever seen for Wolverine. I'm not sure they did the claws different because it didn't seem as fake like the last two films.
Well, I'm sure it was CG, but
it was much better. I could tell, and I felt that he was more, vicious in terms of the fight, like how he was killing people off. It was just really well done.
Yeah, man, that body count, when you saw like everybody on the floor, it's like, whoa.
It was well done. Well done, Tinker. Well done. Anyways, you were saying Jean Grey.
Yeah, I really like the actress that the casting they did for Jean Grey this time.
Do you?
Well, let me. I'm coming from a comic book viewpoint here. So like, especially like when, I mean, it could be like, you know, when they do a choice of actor, um, um, whether like, you know, they cast a blonde person to play Aquaman, or they cast a brunette person.
Okay.
You know, it's just those little subtle things, because I mean, when you look at, you know, when you go to these movies, and especially if you're a comic book fan, you want to see the characters, you know, pretty true to the concept of what you're used to them as in the books. So when, you know, they actually casted a redhead this time, not somebody died with like that faux reddish hair, which it bothers me. It bothers me.
So we have, I forget the actress, but we have the actress who played Jean Grey.
Famke Janssen.
Yeah, I liked her. I thought she reminded me of, her eyebrows. The way she looked reminded me of a comic book. Like in the older films, X-Men, when they made X-Men, they made the characters really look like a comic book version to me, right? Cyclops has already developed how he would look. To me, Jean Grey looked like Jean Grey to me in a comic book. And this baby face Jean Grey they have now from, where is she from? She's from Game of Thrones. That's all I kept thinking about. That's where she came from. Like, isn't that Game of Thrones chick right there? And the softness in her face. I couldn't relate to her as being Jean Grey. I couldn't.
I liked it. I liked it because the fact that she does resemble, she's an actual redhead. You know, she has that look that especially like, this is a problem I have with the Black Widow. And like, you know, the Marvel movies, like, you know, they have Scarlett Johansson playing, you know, this Russian assassin who has this, like, she's supposed to be a redhead too. So, you know, and they do the same thing with the dyed hair, and I'm just like, I don't know, it just bothers me.
I mean, Scarlett Johansson. That's
yeah, I like.
So we have issue with redheads and superheroes here. We have a difference on opinion.
But you know, I don't know. It's just little things like that, like, because I know. I mean, like, even when it comes to like people of color, like when they had James Rhodes played by Terrence Howard. So then when they replace him with Don Cheadle, it's almost like, you know, the blonde and the brunette type thing.
Terrence Howard, I'm sorry, he wasn't a good choice.
You get a light-skinned black person, then later you get a chocolate brother to play the role.
Which is a better choice, to be honest.
Well, I mean, you know, it's aesthetics to me, but I mean,
it's acting ability to me. Sorry, Terrence, but Don Cheadle is a better actor. Yeah, I digress. I said it. I'm just saying. But go ahead. You were saying.
Oh, so it's just those little things like that. You know, hair, or if it's a person of color, if they get like, you know, like the Aunt Vivian, you got the dark skinned Aunt Vivian, then they brought in the light skin.
I never adjusted to the light skin Aunt Vivian. Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's the actors. I mean,
well, you associate it with, you know, you can't just take somebody's mama and change somebody else. You notice she's gone,
right?
Right. So it was really obvious. You know?
Right.
But
so anyway, so I guess what the next character.
Well,